All right, so session 2 for Lumineth The Looming Green. We had just left what was essentially us finding a body um, on the lakeside, I believe. Or we had just come through some passageways and lost the band. I think we had just lost the band. So after losing the band and finding it again, essentially, Patch was able to resummon his band and get things back together. While our friend Milton was essentially propositioned by a yokai or a spirit, a dark one that none of the rest of us saw and aren't sure the consequences of what that will be in the near future. So we continued from there along the road, still trying to get to the next town that we're trying to get to, which I believe. Oh, that's why I messed that up. Is is the Verdant Foundry. We're trying to get to the Foundry. And we're avoiding the bounty, mostly because Ezekiel thinks it's a bad idea, doesn't want to go there, and knows that the person he believes he's chasing is in the Verdant Foundry. Using his magical map as a means of tracking them, he's hell-bent on getting there. So along the way, we do stop at a marketplace. At this marketplace, I just try to buy some vegetables, some supplies as my character is a heron gun. I'm trying to get, some protein that's not meat related, because that's his preference. He will eat meats, of course, but, he prefer veggies and lentils and things like that. As we're doing so, the Dragonborn, that merchant that I'm trying to buy from, mentions something in the bounty. The rest of the crew get really hyped up about it. They want to go, they want to check it out, they want to do some treasure hunting. It's very exciting for them, but Ezekiel gets very angry at this Dragonborn, essentially tries to intimidate him. The entire crowd around sees and is very unhappy. He essentially gets mobbed and mocked and made to pay way more than the vegetables are worth in order to get out of there, and has essentially made a lifelong rival in this Dragonborn. So from there, we head down the road backwards because our cart has been taken off by the other three while Ezekiel and I are dealing with the Dragonborn and the mob. We manage to get out of there, and he takes off of his robe, not his robe, his hood and his mask that he's been wearing the whole time, and essentially reveals himself to look akin to TV's Kevin Sorbo, a running joke that we will continue from there. Zeke is now TV's Kevin Sorbo. So we go from there down the road and find this inn where the cart has been tended to. It's the horses have been brought to the stable, and it is called the Serpentine. It is a gathering house. That is what they have in this world. Since it's Obujima inspired, they have gathering houses where everything's very safe. People feel very safe with each other. There is not like a great need of locks and locked doors and things like that. So we go into this place, we get ourselves some rooms, some drinks, some food. My character, Lyric, takes his time to draw some portraits of some people, to sell them, to make some extra coin. Patch sets up the band and plays for the night and racks up a ton of coin. And Cisco takes the barmaid to bed and has a lovely time. D&D, am I right? So we wake up the next morning, and the innkeep, who was distracted by Cisco, decides that now is the time she's going to ask Patch for her share, because apparently when we were at a gathering house, any musicians and performers give a share to the gathering house. I attempt to step in and help barter her down, since she's asking for quite a lot, and was not clear with her special rules beforehand. Something you need to really establish before you can charge someone for playing music in your establishment is what the fee is going to be. You need to set up this kind of thing and set precedents. So we barter back and forth. He ends up getting 3 extra gold back from her after what he pays for her night that she spent with Cisco. since he seems to persuade her that. So now Cisco has been essentially pimped out without his knowledge. From there, we set up and get ready to leave. Actually, before we do, my character decided not to use the gathering house as his resting place and had instead slept in the carriage. Being that he's an artificer, I used one of my tinker's abilities to build a hunter's trap and set that in at the back of the carriage. And when Zeke came out in the morning in a hurry, not looking, he stepped into the carriage without looking, stepped directly into the hunter's trap, and made a big scene of being very upset that it was hurting him and that he had stepped in it. But really, you keep your eyes open. It's not like I had hidden it under bushes or disguised it in any way, shape, or form. It was just there in plain sight for people not paying attention, which unfortunately included Zeke. Or TV's Kevin Sorbo, unfortunately, was caught in a bear trap. So from there, a elf stumbles out of the woods asking for our help. It seems he's been injured. There's something going wrong with him that we can't quite figure out. Zeke, in his infinite leadership and knowledge, decides that it's a good idea to send the Artificer and the Warlock to investigate. So Patch and I head over to the edge of the clearing of the woods, and we start to look off into the forest. Patch takes another step forward because we see the bag floating, and he becomes in range of this giant treant type yokai who uses its ability on him, causing him to walk forward to it using his full movement speed, and combat ensues. At the time, I was holding onto his staff to try to prevent him from slipping or being pulled forward by anything. He dropped it immediately because of the way that this fear type effect worked and drew him forward. It was a wisdom save. Combat ensues. We're faced with these yokai. There's a second one that comes in to hit us. I managed to use my ability to put Fairy Fire on the first one, and we deal as much damage to it as we can. They bring the trees around them to life, who start using these eyes that animate within them to try to root us in place or with a fear effect. We manage to kill the two of them. It does quite, burden us with some damage, burns resources and makes us quite stressed, and we retrieve the bag. And at the end of that session, we are trying to figure out what to do with the corpses of these yokai. So Lyric makes a religion check and finds out that in order to get rid of a yokai body, what you do with it is all based off of intent. If you are to approach it in kind of a malevolent way, then it may come back and try to attack you again. But if you have the intent of burying it and setting it to peace, when you place the ground upon it, the world itself will take care of the body and essentially send it off to ever after. So with this wisdom, he first goes and takes from the yokai some of its essence, which he later is going to grind up into some paint to add to his paint set. There's nothing else useful to gather from them, so they take their time and bury the corpses, and that's where we leave off at the end of session 2.